What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another head-to-head video. And today I'm putting my BMW M2 Competition against the all-new and quite fantastic Porsche Cayman GTS4.0. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to see if I made a mistake by not buying a more old-school sports car rather than a BMW M2 Competition. So in today's video we're gonna compare the spec of these two cars both inside and out, then we're gonna drive them on some twisty roads, and finally I'm gonna tell you how these two cars compare from the perspective of a BMW M2 Competition owner. And right off the bat I have to apologize for my voice today. I'm not really feeling 100%, but if you're seeing this video right now, that means I haven't died yet. So that's a positive. Now, even though these two cars are technically rivals, they couldn't be more different when it comes to engines and engine placement. For example, the Cayman is a mid-engine sports car, which means the engine sits in the middle of the car. That means this car has a trunk and a frunk, while the BMW has the engine in the front. And while the Cayman has a 4-liter flat-6 naturally aspirated petrol engine in the middle that can produce 400 horsepower, the BMW has an inline-6 3-liter twin turbocharged petrol engine that can produce 410. So two quite different beasts, but as you'll see later on, they're quite evenly matched. So let's run through the specs before we head out on the road. The Cayman is finished in this quite awesome Python green special Porsche color. It rides on 20-inch 718 sport alloys, and other than the rear diffuser and the badging on the doors, there's very little details that give away the power unit under the skin. It has adaptive dampers, dynamic engine mounts and a mechanical limited slip differential with torque vectoring at the back. The BMW also features a limited slip differential at the back, but it rides on 19-inch 788M wheels. Those wheels house the big brake kit that comes as an optional extra, and the car is obviously painted black. What the M2 doesn't have is adaptive dampers, but the suspension system is pretty well set up by BMW's engineers and you won't really miss it in the long run. Both cars are starting to show their age on the inside because they feature the old style tech and infotainment systems, but they are pretty well equipped from factory. If you're not a fan of Alcantara, I can straight up tell you that you're gonna hate the Cayman's interior because there's a lot of it, but the driving position, the seats, the steering wheel are the best in the business. The M2 Competition features the new optional M whatever seats. They're super comfortable and they hug into place quite well, and they are a great addition to an already awesome package. There's bits of carbon fiber here and there, lots of dark color materials elsewhere, and not much else because all the development money has been spent wisely in other places like performance. The Porsche is a manual car while the BMW features a 7-speed DCT double clutch transmission. That's what I could find available, so that's that. Now let's get driving. Yeah, so I filmed some stuff inside of the Cayman, and because I am a massive idiot, I forgot to press the record button. So the driving part of this video will be coming exclusively from my M2 Competition. So let's get started. First we'll compare engines, then handling, we're gonna look at the prices, and finally we're gonna draw some conclusions about these two cars. So engines, quick reminder, the M2 has a 3-liter twin-turbo inline-6 engine that can produce 410 horsepower and 550 Newton meters of torque, while the Cayman has a naturally aspirated 4-liter flat-6 unit that can produce 400 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque. The M2 can reach 100 km/h from standstill in 4.2 seconds because it has the auto box, And the Cayman can do that in 4.5 seconds. If the M2 had a manual, both cars would be evenly matched. So based on the figures I just told you, you might be tempted to think that these two engines are quite similar. But actually, they're not similar at all. These power units couldn't be more different. The Cayman's natural aspirated 4-liter is punchy, but you have to rev it out in order to extract all its power, while the M2 Competition's twin-turbo unit can deliver most of its torque low down in the rev range. So the BMW is more brutal all the time, while the Porsche has a more linear power delivery. Red lines also differ quite a lot. The M2 has the standard sports car red line, close to 7000 RPM, but the Cayman can rev up to 7800 RPMs, and the noise about the 7K mark is just superb. So yeah, both engines are just as quick, but the way they deliver their power is quite different. And really, there's no good or bad way, it's just a matter of preference. When it comes to transmissions, I think Porsche has it nailed in both areas, manuals and automatics. BMW manuals are a bit notchy, they're not as precise, and the clutch is a tad bit on the heavy side. The manual in the Cayman is just sensational. It's got short throws, a lovely mechanical feel to it, and it's very precise. But the M2 has more normal gear ratios as opposed to what the Cayman has. That second gear is just so long. And while the DCT box in my M2 is lovely and absolutely adore it, Porsche's PDK is just faster in manual mode and smoother when you leave it to do its thing. Now handling, and the summary is as follows. The Cayman is the more precise machine, while the M2 Competition is the more fun option out of the two. The BMW is more playful at the limit, it feels loose all the time, and the back feels ready to step out of line even with traction control on. The front end has a lot of grip and the steering is quite fast and responsive. So basically this is everything you would ever want from a rear-wheel driven BMW M car. The Porsche, on the other hand, allows for more precision driving. The car has lots more grip on the limit and it allows for small corrections to be done without making it unstable at higher speeds. I think that car would be ridiculously good on a track and you would surprise a lot of people with the times you achieve there. But this also makes the Cayman less fun on a twisty B road compared to the BMW because of what I just mentioned. Even though the Porsche is riding on 20-inch wheels, the suspension feels more refined and less harsh than the BMW's. Granted, the Cayman has adaptive dampers, but even in sport mode, the car feels more comfortable. On the open road, the cars feel pretty much the same, very little understeer, very little body roll, and quite good front-end grip. Let's talk pricing and draw some conclusions. And there's really no going around this, so I'll just spit it out. The BMW is 20,000 euros less than a Cayman GTS. The Porsche is better equipped, but only slightly, so there you go. That's the price difference. But I'll let you guys draw your conclusions on this topic, but I will say this. I like the fact that Porsche treats the Cayman like any other car in its lineup. You can configure it in any way you want it, and you have access to pretty much all the options as the more expensive cars in Porsche's lineup. And that's quite opposite to what BMW does with the M2 Competition. There's very few options to choose from. There's about 5 colors available. You can have adaptive dampers, you can have adaptive cruise control, and you don't even have access to BMW's individual program, so you can customize this interior, for example. I mean, on the inside, the only real options you have are these seats and the color of the stitching. That's it. So which of these two cars is best? Well, I for one have real difficulties in picking a winner because these two cars complement each other so well. The Cayman would be a lovely car to have in my garage, but for me personally, it's missing 2 seats. On the other hand, I just adore my M2 Competition, but I would love for this car to have the same damping as the Cayman. And I could go on like this for hours, just picking favorites from each of these two cars. But at this time, for me, the BMW M2 Competition is the perfect car. It's fast, it's quite good looking, it handles well, and it's quite practical for my family of 3. But if money is no issue for you, and you can afford to have a daily driver and a sports car that you take out on weekends and track days, then go right ahead and buy the Cayman GTS. There's nothing more special than that car on the market right now. That's been it for today's video, my friends. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you subscribe for plenty more videos to come. I have another head-to-head video coming soon where I'm putting together the M2 Competition and a very special sports car, so stay tuned for that. And until I see you next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you around.